Hello, this is Pamela Topjian. Today I'm going to talk about contemplating leaving hypnotherapy. I had done another video on letting go or giving up, and in that video I described that one of the reasons I was doing that video, how to tell the difference if you're giving up on something or if you're letting it go, and what that difference is. And part of the reason I did that is because I wanted to talk it out a little bit myself, because I'm considering leaving hypnotherapy. And I had said in that video that that was the reason I was doing it. And I had asked if anybody wanted me to go deeper into that, that I would. And a couple people had told me that they did want me to do a video about stepping away from hypnotherapy. So I love the input, so thank you so much for that. So let me give you a little bit of background with myself and hypnotherapy, and then I'll discuss the reasons that I'm thinking about walking away from it. So my background is back in 2010. So I was a nurse starting 2007, and I already knew a couple years in that it was not necessarily what I thought it was going to be. I had said in other places that it was soul crushing. It was just not what I had thought and hoped it would be. So, 2009 or 2010, I started another course, just like holistic practices. I don't remember what the course was, but within that course, it gave you just a lot of introduction to a lot of these different holistic healing modalities, and hypnotherapy was one of them. And I really fell in love with it. I saw how powerful it could be. So I focused in on learning hypnotherapy, getting training, getting practice, and all of that. But I knew at that point I was not able to make that switch to be able to leave nursing and switch on over to being a hypnotherapist. Just practicing on people off and on over the years in a couple groups in a detox and recovery center. I led a couple groups that wasn't necessarily hypnotherapy, but very similar. Almost like just guided meditation type of a thing. But then in 2019, I was still doing my nursing, and I took another course in hypnotherapy. And obviously, 2019 is just before that pandemic. I became certified, and I took some other courses and got some more certifications in the holistic healing world. But still, my focus was hypnotherapy. And I created a business, and in 2020 and 2021, it was full. I was had a lot of clients, doing a lot of hypnotherapy, loved every minute of it. And then in 2022, 2023, 2024, it was kind of like up and down as far as the clients. And I was doing pet sitting on the side. And in 2024, I think it kind of really took a nosedive. Hardly had any clients. I was still doing some hypnotherapy with some friends, for some friends. Occasionally, I would get a client that would come through, let's see, to write love on her arms, a suicide prevention organization. So I had my name listed in their website to do a free session and reduced cost sessions after that for anybody who wanted to reach out through that website. So I got a couple clients through there, and they were usually ones that couldn't afford even my low income rate, which was half the price. So they would go for their free session, and that was it. And I would offer some other advice and different other things that they could do that I knew of that might be helpful for them. And I also put a lot of guided meditations and visualizations on YouTube so that people could kind of get a taste to see what it was, as well as to, if they had one free session, then they could maybe get some benefit through the YouTube channel. But I don't want to go too deep into that. So the YouTube channel, which you're watching this on now. So there's still a whole playlist with a lot of guided meditations and visualizations. But it really took a nosedive in 2024. So at the end of the year, I was on a podcast in, I think, January of this year. It might have been December, but they had asked me what the word is for the year. And I just thought reflection. Let's reflect back on what's going right, what's not going right, what's causing me the most stress in my life. I'm not big on resolutions, but I am big on reflecting, trying to see where changes are needed. What are you going to do to make those changes? Um, where can you reduce the stress in your life? So, like I said, I was doing pet sitting on the side and I loved it so much. I still do. And that turned into a full-time thing. So, I had a business mentor that I would talk with, and um, and this was 2023, 2024. And I mentioned how I was doing pet sitting on the side, or I kind of considered it like a side gig, even though I was doing it full time and had more clients than I can handle, actually. And the business mentor said, if you love what you're doing and you're able to live, having your living expenses taken care of, and you don't need this extra business, why not focus on the pet sitting, and hypnotherapy can kind of be more of your side thing, and let whichever one is going to grow, grow. And so when I started focusing more on my pet sitting and hypnotherapy, just kind of, the marketing was only really posting on social media and stuff like that. And I still had my name in the, is it TWLO HA, to write Love on Her Arms. I still had my website listed there, and it was listed in other resources for, you know, um, alternative therapies and stuff. So, so I hope this isn't boring. I hope I'm not just rambling, but I'm trying to think of it all. And so I'm still kind of contemplating. I'm taking this year to figure out, because at the end of this year, we need to recertify, update our certifications. I don't know how to say that. Uh, every 2 years. At the end of 2025 is time for that to be done. So I'm using this year to figure out if I'm gonna completely give it up or not. But when I thought about what's causing me the most stress, it was my hypnotherapy business. This is causing me the most stress in my life. And it's not that stress is bad, because stress can be a good thing, really. And depending on your balance that you have in your life and what your background was. So, somebody who has had a traumatic background and has had a lot of severe stress in their life might not want to, continue to allow whatever's causing stress, and not willing to go through all of that. And I had done another video that was from breakdown to breakthrough, and that just kind of explained, you know, everything, just like the title says. I also, have a book that I've talked about several times. I didn't come this far to only come this far. And that explains everything that I've been through, and the stress in my life, and the trauma that I had had in my life. So I'm not willing to go through and push through the stress that it's causing. My life at this point, I'm near 60 years old, and not that that really matters, but at this point, I would like to try to keep it as happy as I can be and peaceful as I can be. And that's where I'm at in my life. I'm done with continuing to push and fight. So, with hypnotherapy, there's a lot of misconceptions, and it has a bad reputation in a lot of circles. Some even people even think of it as like an evil thing, but shows and movies have put it in a bad light, and like mind control, on, people walk around like zombies who have been hypnotized, and it's just not like that at all. But having to explain what it is really hard, because the world and scientists don't really know too much about consciousness or the mind even. So it's really hard to try to explain it to people. And I think that's part of why people are leery of it. You know, that's a lot more than I am willing to accept into my life. It's not like I'm going to do the hypnotherapy. It's not something I do to people or for people. It's a guide, it's a facilitator, and then there's other things that you need to do to continue your healing between sessions. And you have to be willing to put the work in yourself as well. And to know that you are ready to let go of whatever it is, or to move on. I've got some great testimonials. I have some great experience, and I never questioned my training. I feel like I had very good training in, all of the courses really. And, I don't question my skills. I feel like I have good hypnotherapy skills and just trying to be realistic about all that it would take to have a thriving business as a hypnotherapist. And I don't want to give up pet sitting. So I'm successful. I'm doing very well in pet sitting, and I have a whole nother video on that as well. So that's where I'm at in my thought process. Going from a field that, although in my opinion is corrupt, with nursing, going from that to going into one where the public has a positive feeling about nurses and about nursing. It's an honorable and trustworthy profession and people in that profession. Going from that kind of a profession to one where you have to explain what you do and try to, I don't want to say convince because I didn't want to try to convince anybody, but one that you had to try to explain it away and, always giving a lot of free sessions. And it was never about the money. But just going from one that is trustworthy and honorable to one that is people are leery of is kind of hard as well. There were people that would reach out to you that for X-rated stuff, creepy men are everywhere. Stress is not a bad thing. Stress can be a very good thing. The amount of stress is something that you have to be able to decide for yourself what you're okay with, what feels like motivation and what feels like, you know, progression and positive movement, that can cause stress. So you have to decide for yourself what is more stress that I'm willing to accept and to deal with and to push through compared to this is getting me down. This is not working for me. So there's a time to say, I'm ready to let it go and move on, or am I willing to push through and fight harder for it? And realistically, unless I had a team, I don't think that I'm willing to put in all of the business work that I would have to put in to make it a successful business. I think it would always be just something I did on the side. And honestly, it kind of takes away a lot of time if I have to schedule people just when I have a chance and just do one-offs here and there. Um, so yeah, that's all. Those are all my thoughts on considering letting it go. And I feel like it all had to be for something. So it was a really big dream of mine to have my own hypnotherapy practice, and I did that. It just wasn't, real successful for the long term. I also, always had this dream of being able to leave nursing, and I did that. So those were the things that hypnotherapy was supposed to be for me, and they were, but it didn't quite work out the way I thought it would. And I feel like sometimes, thinking about leaving it is like I did all that education, took all that time, and I really felt in my heart, in fact, going to the second school that I went to when I first went there to learn about it and get all the information, I had a serious deja vu experience and it was amazing. And it felt like this is something that is really in me that I need to do. But looking back on it, to think what happened that it didn't quite work out when I felt really called and pulled towards it. I think that everything that I did through the education, and it was a lot of healing through the education as well, through the training and the education, and working with a lot of clients through the pandemic and the first and second year afterwards. So I feel like it wasn't all for nothing. I learned a lot, and I will always have these skills and this information and this wisdom within me. And maybe it's led me to where I'm going, or maybe it's led me to where I'm at, and who knows what the future will bring, right? I don't feel like it was a mistake to go through all that, but I did have to wonder, why did I go through all that just to let it go 5 years later, right? Or, like I really started in 2010, I would say, is like the real start of it for me. And it was just kind of a little bit here and there. Now 2025, and I'm going to be 59 this year, and I had been through so much trauma in my life that I'm only want to live as peaceful as I can as what's under my control. And so contemplating on what has been the most stressful part of the last year and what am I going to do different for this next year, that's a big part of it. So that's where I'm at. And I hope this made sense. Hope I didn't ramble too much. I will put the links to those other videos, the From Breakdown to Breakthrough and Letting Go or Giving Up. I'll put those links in the description below. And I just want to say really quick, because it's something new, is I have a playlist. If you are part of this channel, I have a playlist for Holistic Connections Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And that is now a proper podcast on podcast platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Podbean. I believe those are all the places that it is right now, but it's just the Holistic Connections Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. So check it out, please. And I'm still working out a few little bugs about the descriptions being different than in the playlist here on this channel compared to on the podcast platforms, but the recordings are all there. So, or the last 10 anyway, because I couldn't get all of them from the playlist into the podcast. So anyway, please check it out. And thank you so much for being here. And any feedback is appreciated. Any suggestions for any other topics, please let me know. Okay, bye.